The gentleman entered Islam. The one who was there first, he took his shahada after a few hours of working with him. And then the couple, the elderly couple, they listened and they said, this is what we believe too. And they stood right there. Now, they didn't make their shahada, but they stood and prayed with us in the salah. The woman went back with the ladies section and the man with us. And I said, now this is the positive way. Because what we've endeavored to do is to show Islam both from a presentation, but also in our actions. They ate with us, they sat with us, talked with this kid around, and get the feeling that, okay, you guys are normal. You're not like wild animals. You're not out here chopping off heads and hands and doing with this circumcision thing you're talking about. And so what we understand is, from practical application, we've got to get out amongst the people and let them know. We've got to stop hiding our identities in the real world and then hiding ourselves behind these big iron gates and minarets in other parts of the world. We need to be Muslims first and worry about architecture later. This is an opinion of mine, but we definitely wouldn't have the problem about architecture if we'd have done something about the architecture, the behavior and character of a Muslim to start with. The second part that you're asking me about, I don't know. I can't say that I could give you a definitive answer. But I do believe that the more that we focus, on encouraging dialogues, not so much debates, but dialogues with leaders from these other groups, from people that hate because they're afraid, or they're afraid because they hate, I'm not sure which. But if we engage them in active dialogues, they get to say something, we get to say something, have moderation with it, and then everybody can go home feeling like, well, I got to say my side of it, and I got to hear their side of it, and feel good about it. I think that's also a positive step.
Yeah, what do you think about that step, Abdulaziz? Do you think it would be...
Yes, I fully agree with the Sheikh that the dialogue is a very important layer we have to go in, and we in fact go in for a long time already. Muslim leaders in Switzerland and ordinary Muslims, they engage in this way, in this kind of dialogue for a long time already. But I must also make clear that if, and this was the president of the Shura said before, Nicolas Blanchot, if someone really hates Islam and has maybe, or thinks that he has reason to hate Islam because he has let's say, a mushawwah, surah mushawwah, I don't know how to pronounce it in English, sorry for that, but if he has
a distorted picture.
Yes, a distorted picture, exactly, about Islam, then it is very, very difficult to deal with this guy on a pragmatic layer. And this is actually where we have to really set on. We have to show the people and try to transport through the discourse, through the media, through the politics, that the picture which is now available in Switzerland, that this picture is a wrong picture of Islam, an absolutely wrong picture of Islam. And we have to try to everything hard to correct this picture and go back to a way where we have been maybe 10 years ago or so, to discuss pragmatically on a level where we are sitting on the same height of eyes, so that we can look into each other's eyes and say what you are saying, we believe in it, and what we are saying, that you believe. Because now the situation is different. He would say what I'm saying is not true, or I'm hiding something, and probably some people might deal in the other way around.
But were you able to have any successful dialogue so far?
Well, as we said, our Shura, the Central Council of Muslims in Switzerland, had just been founded by the end of October last year, and probably influenced by the political discourse going on in Switzerland surrounding the debate of the minaret ban. The leaders of Muslims in Switzerland, let's say, which had been active before, if you ask me, they had been too elitary, meaning that they went to dialogue, but only with preachers, with churchmen, and not really with politicians, and not really with ordinary people. We really have to go out now and catch the ordinary people on the street and show them that the picture which had been transported so long is fully wrong, and that we have to work on to correct this picture. Because let me add something. Who is really interested in this distorted picture which is available now in Switzerland in general, especially, but also in general in Europe? These are the right-wing groups which are actually against the system of democracy. Look at how they set out of order the democracy during the 1930s when the Nazis came. They also used the minority to spread hate against them, focused on the Jews in order to point and project all the wrong things which are going on in the world on them. Say the Jews are not like they should be, the Jews are that, the Jews are that, the Jews are that. It's exactly what the Nazis did. And this is actually what we are fearing now, that they are projecting all the things that are going wrong in the world on Muslims and then on Islam in general in order to gain political ground. Because now it is very popular in Switzerland or in surrounding European countries to attack Islam. Even the Greens started with that, and the Green Party till recently had really been defending Muslims. But now they came up with a project to prohibit the khitan, yani the circumcision of boys. So you see to what extent the discussion and discourse has already become against the Muslims in this very time. So we are really, really, really now in a hurry to try to correct this picture, and may Allah help us to do so.
You just mentioned about dialogue, but who are the people, which group do we concentrate in the very beginning? He said that in Switzerland they started with the priests and so forth, but they need to go to the normal people. Who should we give priority to?
Well, this is going to depend largely on the makeup of the community. When you're talking about Switzerland, or let us say, for instance, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, these are primarily atheist countries. And when you have atheism, then you're going to have a lot more to deal with the politicians because they're logically going to be the people in control. And if you went to Australia, now where they're largely influenced by religion, you have even a Christian party there in Australia. So this is why I think we will fail if we don't look at a broader picture. This is exactly now the topic we're talking about, East, West, and in between, because it's not just a matter of East and West, is it?
Yes.
If we said, well, in the East they have this, and the West they have that, and what are all the stuff in between? And let's look at the in-between. In between, let us take, for instance, Islam and Christianity. What's in between? Okay, and we could hammer that forever, and we have people who've done that. Dr. Zakir Naik currently doing that, and before him, Ahmadidat, really hammering on this subject. But where would this argument or debate be if you try to play it in Denmark? It doesn't sell. People are like, who cares? And when I was in Malmo, Sweden, for instance, they wanted to come out and do an expose or a little story about Muslims there, and they came to the masjid. The masjid was burnt down twice there. A new masjid, they burned it down to the ground out of hatred. So they came one time, and they rebuilt it. It's very nice now, by the way. They came to get some pictures, and they did like a photo, what do they call media thing, but a lot of
gallery.
Yeah, with pictures and videos. And they were focusing on the fact that they went on a Friday when the prayer is, the Muslim gathering. They said, look how many thousands of people are here for this, in shoes everywhere, in cars everywhere in the streets, and so on, so on, so. Look, and then they said, you know what, let's come back to the church, which is right next door, on Sunday, and show, look, these people will go there and get their opinion, why are these guys coming on Friday doing all this stuff? But when they went there were only 4 people in the whole entire church. One of them was the pastor of the church. And one of them, I think, had something to do with the collection or something. The other 2 were just trying to get out of the cold. But that was it, a huge church with only 4 people in it. And so they killed the story because they couldn't make this kind of comparison. So this is why it's important to know who you're talking to. Who are the people?
We'll continue on this point. We'll take a short break here on the Straight Path, and we'll be back right after this.
My world is bright, Islam is my sight. According to the Quran, we live in a universe that worships Allah. It is not just human beings who celebrate His praises, but animals as well. Join us every Wednesday at 20 GMT for your show, Even Animals Glorified.